writer with contributions in publications like Afar Media and Insider Travel. Born and raised in the Caribbean, Rizal is an expert on the Caribbean region with an audience that loves her authentic outlook and trusts her savvy advice. Her YouTube channel and her blog, The Traveling Island Girl, are sources for travel tips, Caribbean destinations, and real stories about her own experiences traveling the region. Onika Raymond is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, influencer, blogger, and host of travel channels One Bag and You're Out and Big City, Little Budget. Onika is a self-described travel junkie, having traveled to over 115 countries on 6 continents. Her award-winning blog, Onika the Traveler, is dedicated to inspiring people of color as well as women to see the world. So without further ado, I'm going to let Grace Capuzzo and London Mercer kick off the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks for that introduction, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Capuzzo. I'm VP of Strategy of Big Idea, and I'm a big-time lover of Anguilla. I'm very excited to be here today and looking forward to hearing from our guests, especially Rizal and Onika. Thank you for joining this panel. Before we jump into the content, we'd like to discuss Anguilla's engagement and growth on the tourist board's social media channels. Perfect. You want to go there? So across our platforms, we've seen dramatic year-over-year engagement growth, with our follower count more than doubling across platforms. Next one, perfect. Social media combined with advertising and marketing campaigns helped support the record-breaking 20% arrivals growth in 2019, which was the highest figure in Anguilla's history. And our campaigns have garnered 5 industry awards for marketing and social media. But what we really want to talk about is engagement. Let's go to the next slide. Engagement is one of the most valuable social media metrics. It's the combination of likes, comments, and shares, and it means people are taking the time to react to your content in a meaningful way. All of us here have social media channels, and it's very easy to scroll through and be very distracted. And if our content resonates enough, we can actually get people to stop, like, comment, and share.
Recording in progress.
The tourist board has seen incredible month-over-month engagement increases, not single or double digits, but we're talking about 3-digit increases higher than 600%. The travel industry's engagement rate is 1.6% average. Anguilla's is 5.3%, which is 231% higher than our competitors. And Anguilla's ads on Instagram have a 217% higher click-through rate than the rest of the travel industry average, making us 217% more successful when it comes to comparing that of our competitors. The best part of all of this is we've seen a correlation between the dramatic increases in engagement and the actual arrivals to the island. So now we'll jump into content that resonates. So the psychology of how people make decisions and book trips hasn't changed at all in the past 30, 40 years. The only thing that's really changed is technology, and with that, the addition of social media. The number one most powerful marketing tool is the same thing it was 30, 40 years ago, which is word of mouth. But back then, word of mouth was calling a friend on the phone or going over to a Sunday night dinner with your in-laws and telling them about your amazing trip to Anguilla. Word of mouth is still the number one driver in why a person chooses Anguilla over Aruba or Bahamas for a vacation. The only difference now is that word of mouth is happening on TripAdvisor and Expedia reviews, on text message, on WhatsApp, and most importantly, on social. People still trust friends and family's recommendations and strangers on TripAdvisor over any other type of advertisement or brand. The good news for us is that a brand can use this psychology. A brand can use this psychology to their benefit. The reason people trust strangers on the internet so much more is it feels real. It feels like you're sitting across from someone at a Sunday night dinner while they tell you about the world's best pina colada in Anguilla. So how can you do that in a way that feels real? It feels authentic. It feels like you're being honest without coming off too salesy. We're going to go into that in the presentation. So images, first and foremost. With no one being able to leave their houses in the past 18 months and few conferences or trade shows happening, every destination is allocating all of their money to marketing and to especially digital marketing. So those who weren't spending $1 are now moving all of their money over to digital marketing and social media. We are not only competing with every single beautiful beach destination, but also every single destination in the world who are spending millions of dollars to attract new tourists. And other places have amazing beaches, amazing culture and food. Why should someone choose Anguilla over the other destinations? The image quality on social is one of the most important things. The image quality has to be not only at the level of our competitors, but it has to be a heck of a lot better. We're 65% more likely to remember information as an image, and Instagram actually deprioritizes blurry content below resolution. So images have to be the highest quality, or it will actually hide it in the algorithm. Next one. Here are a few good examples of images. All of these tell a story. Travelers should feel really transported to a destination with a great image. You should want to say, I want to go there. I could be those people. I could be diving with them. I could be sharing a drink with them. Storytelling. So when people go on trips and they tell their friends about it, they don't care about the facts and figures of a destination, and brands shouldn't either. It's the people they've met along the way and those authentic and unique experiences they've had. I came to Anguilla about 7 years ago for the first time, and I don't remember how many rooms my hotel had. I definitely don't remember anything on any of the menus or what was on the menu, but I do remember that ride over in the boat. I remember getting handed a delicious free rum punch and being thrilled about it. I remember a t-shirt I bought at Ming's grocery store. And I remember going over to Little Bay Rock, which many of us here have been on, and having Calvin boat me over. While he boated me over to Little Bay, is telling me hilarious stories about the island and some of the people. These are those little gems and those little intangible tidbits that inspire that real brand loyalty for destination, why someone would come back to Anguilla instead of choose somewhere else. 65% of people agree that telling personal local stories is a better content strategy than focusing on highlighting beautiful imagery. Stories should immediately grab someone's attention so they stop scrolling and want to read more. It should be an experience that they can feel emotionally connected to. It doesn't mean it has to be long. I see a lot of brands, especially on Instagram, write 5-6 paragraphs. And if it's a great story, that's amazing. That's a really engaging story. 5-6 paragraphs is fine. But I think a concise story with succinct copy is best. You want to engage your audience with either something different or educate them with something new. Short form videos. So some experts have argued that a goldfish's attention span of 9 seconds has now officially surpassed the average human's attention span of 8 seconds. Now, this might not be the case for everyone, but there is no denying that there are so many screens and distractions at all times. I don't know how many times I've sat down and watched a TV show while making dinner, while texting my friends, and while scrolling through social. And I'm sure everyone in this room has done that same thing. The silver lining here is that you can optimize your video content to achieve this. So there's a reason why Instagram Reels are so popular and successful at grabbing their audience's attention within the first few seconds of a video. People share videos at twice the rate of any other form of content. And 63% of marketers say short form video content gets the best return on investment. The best type of videos tell a very short story or even hint at a story. It's kind of like a movie trailer. You see a 3 or 4 minute movie trailer that gives away the whole plot. There's no reason to see the movie anymore. You already know everything. So less is always more. For me, it's that sweet spot of 15 to 30 seconds that leaves you wanting more and drives you to the website or to look up more information. I'll go to that next slide. So these are some perfect examples. We can share this deck with everyone after, but just what I call kind of like that dangling carrot content, that 15 to 20 second sweet spot. It's a couple walking beautifully into a villa, but you not being able to see the rest of the villa. So you have to click and learn more. It's someone decorating a drink at the top and putting a strawberry on top, but you don't know what's in the drink. So you have to click to see more. All of that kind of teaser content that makes you keep engaging. Now I'm going to hand it over to London Mercer, our social media content manager.
Thanks, Grace.
Yeah.
So Instagram stories and highlights are 2 features you may hear about quite frequently when it comes to social media. And both are something we've seen a ton of success with when it comes to brand marketing recently. If you're unfamiliar with how these two features work, they may sound intimidating, but I promise everyone is more than capable of successfully utilizing them as part of their social strategy. Instagram stories are a fantastic option for creating and sharing content without committing to uploading a post to your main feed. Unlike a regular post, which will live on your feed forever unless you decide to delete it, An Instagram story will disappear after 24 hours. It gives you the freedom to have fun and get creative with your stories without necessarily having to worry about it being super designed. For similar reasons, they can feel more casual and personal. They're often posted in the moment or to show followers what's going on behind the scenes. The sort of content typically feels less polished than a regular Instagram post, which helps humanize your content and connect with your followers. Stories are a great way to showcase your brand's personality in a way that feels more authentic and relatable. It also provides endless opportunities to engage with your audience, whether it's polls, quizzes, stickers, hashtags. You can and should be implementing stories to not only interact with your audience, but gain consumer insights. 1/3 of most viewed stories come from brands, and this may be in part because the Facebook and Instagram algorithm actually favors profiles that are constantly pushing out content. Because stories appear at the top of the fold in your home screen, if you're one of those brands who is constantly pushing out content, in a way you can skip the line in your audience's feed and always stay top of their mind. 62% of people have become more interested in a brand or product after seeing it in stories. And with Instagram highlights, you can extend the life of your best stories and give potential customers more chances to see the content you work so hard to create. Instagram story highlights are essentially collections of pictures, videos, and posts that you've posted to your story in the past. And these curated collections are referred to as albums and usually feature different categories of topics. Unlike Instagram stories that vanish after 24 hours, highlights live permanently on your profile, and you can add and delete from them at any time. On the next slide, we can see some examples of how you can use stories to inform your content strategy and interact with your audience. So get to know what kind of content they want to see. Ask questions or use polls. So if you're a restaurant, what kind of meals are your followers looking to see added to your menu? Educate your audience through quizzes. See how much they know about Anguilla or your brand by asking questions about your offerings. Making announcements, offering deals, giving behind the scenes looks. These are all different ways you can humanize your brand, learn from your audience, and successfully implement stories as part of your show. You have to offer, promote events, keep your audience up to date on announcements, act as a go-to resource with Q&As and FAQs, highlight testimonials, share discounts, and overall just have fun with it. On the right, you can see some of the ATB's highlights that we have on their profile, anything ranging from information regarding the visiting process, different beaches, quizzes for followers to take, various food on the island. So if you're a hotel, you may have a highlight with your holiday promotions going on. Or if you're a store on the island, you may have one about your store hours or return policies. But when it comes to coming up with the ideas for your stories and highlights, think about what type of content you would want to see or like to see when it comes to when you're personally booking a hotel or activity. Something that makes you smile. So it's a nudge from the brand that doesn't necessarily feel salesy. So now let's talk about a gold mine hidden in plain sight in the travel industry, user-generated content, otherwise called UGC. So going off what we spoke about earlier, authenticity continues to be a trend across the industry. 92% of customers trust online content created by peers above all else. And a great way to lean into that authenticity is through UGC. Not only does it come at a decent price, often free, but there's a great amount of trust that comes with seeing it. Specifically within the travel industry, customers are inspired by friends and family's social content at every single stage of the purchase cycle. UGC is content that feels like it's your friends or family taking it because in a way, it's no different from having your friends share their recent trip from Anguilla. Using UGC on your brand's social channel creates more trust with your audience because it's real people in these photos. And we like UGC because it's less expensive and it's easier to obtain. And in order to capitalize on this, try following specific hashtags regarding your brand, check your tag photos, check out specific geolocations, but keep in mind the same rules apply when looking for UGC to use. You still want clear, high quality images and videos. When you find something you like, you want to even create a template to ask permission to use that content on your channel. Most of the time, people are willing to say yes, so long as you give them credit, but it's really important you credit them correctly and get explicit approval before using someone else's photo, because you are showing real people, not hired models, and it's their brand on the line. Sometimes it can be difficult to track back photos from the original owner, but despite that, we do try really hard to credit every photo we possibly can. So up next, we're going to talk a little bit about influencers, and influencers are different from UGC in that there's a different level of trust there. With influencers, you can reach new audiences on a personal and relatable level. 49% of Gen Z adults and 50% of millennials follow at least one travel influencer on social media. And 84% of this group uses these influencers for recommendations. And more than ever, they're looking to bloggers, vloggers, Instagrammers, YouTubers for travel inspo over traditional advertising. And part of the power of travel influencers comes from their ability to make their followers feel connected to their experiences, as if they're encountering the same experiences the same way the influencers are. There are different types of influencers you can utilize depending on the need of your brand. So, for example, micro influencers provide influence to a more niche audience and may have a closer bond or more authentic connection to their followers, whereas macro influencers come at a higher cost, but you're getting in front of an incredibly large audience. Both have incredible benefits and both come at a cost that in the end comes down to how you negotiate with them. So you do need to negotiate like you would any other brand negotiation. You're the one driving what you're wanting to get out of it. So ask yourself, what is it exactly that you want this influencer to do? Do you want them to drive traffic to your social page or website? So decide exactly how many posts or stories you want to see from them. Do you need them to gather high quality assets for you to later on use on your social pages? Lay out how many photos you want to see and negotiate how you would a photographer. They're not only there for their influence, but their content creating capabilities. So now that we've heard about creating and finding content that resonates, let's talk about how we can get that content seen. If you work in social media, you know there are a ton of time and effort that goes into coming up with a content calendar. If we want to move to the next slide. From getting a photographer or taking the photos or videos yourself, getting that perfect shot, editing and clipping the videos, writing and editing social copy, getting it approved. It's not an easy task. It takes a lot of time and effort and many hours to create a nicely curated social media feed. Once you've put it in all that effort and you go to post, if you don't put any money behind it, all that time was kind of wasted because only a small amount of people are going to see what you put up. A real investment in social media requires a real budget and target behind each and every post. The social platform itself might be free, but as a brand, social channels algorithms do not prioritize branded content. On average, organic content, meaning the content that you're putting up with no money behind it, it only reaches 2.2% of your fans on Facebook and 9.4% of your fans on Instagram. That means that not even all the people who are following you are going to see your content. And as a brand, you really must pay to play on social, and that's where boosting comes in. Boosting allows you to expand your audience beyond those who already like your page. And on top of that, you can target people who are maybe interested in your page based on interests, behaviors, and various demographics. For example, people who may want to book your hotel or your excursion. The best part is that there's a low cost per entry and compared to traditional advertising, and you can gain incredible audience insights pretty quickly. Again, the more money you invest, the more people you're going to reach and the higher return on investment will be. So if you're wanting people to see all the effort you're putting into the wonderful content you're creating, you must utilize Facebook and Instagram's boosting and targeting capabilities. Now, Grace is going to go a little bit more into that.
Perfect. Thank you, London. As London said, our entire social media strategy is paid. If it's not paid, then the algorithm deprioritizes it and no one will see it. So the Anguilla Tourist Board is putting a real investment into every single post. We have a running list of partners on Island and make sure that we're posting about the partners at least once a year. But if you're a partner that works at the tourist board, I'm sure you've seen we often post about 3-4 times a year. And we're putting real budgets and targeting behind every single partner post. We do a ton of our own research on photos and videos and finding kind of those tidbits from each of your own personal websites and social media channels. But the best content really comes through a stronger partnership with each of you. So this means just keeping us in the loop, keeping us in the know. Send us Dropbox links of your most amazing photos and videos. If you have an influencer visiting, let us know so we can start following them and following along with their travels. If you're offering a package or a discount or a giveaway or hosting a special event or conference, let us know. And, we can't promise we will post everything, but the more great things you send, the better that content gets. Want to go to the next slide? Perfect. Here's an example of some recent partner content. You can see that it's incredibly high performing. Our partner content is some of our highest performing. A lot of these have thousands of likes and hundreds of clicks directly back to the partner's social media or back to their websites. So we're actually driving traffic away from the tourist boards and right to you. So now I'm going to hand it over to Stefano. Stefano is the president of De Paoli Associati.
Thank you, Grace.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm Stefano De Paoli. We have represented the Anguilla Tourist Board in Italy for over 25 years. And since then, we have always worked to identify our target audience in terms of age, gender, profession, income level, education, geographical residence, to ensure that our communications are targeted as effectively as possible. Next slide, please. 25 years ago, when we started, we communicated with our target audience in a very different way from today. In those days, our main communication channels were the printed media, press conferences, mailings, personal meetings. The communication has since become increasingly efficient, thanks to the technology that year after year has replaced the traditional media. And this was particularly true in the world of mobile apps and social media. More than 41 million Italians are today regular users of social media out of a population of 60 million. Among the remaining 90 million, if you exclude children and the elderly, there's probably no one left who might be interested in spending a holiday in the Caribbean. This is impressive indeed, as it gives a measure of the power of this instrument. With an enormously lower cost than traditional advertising, we can achieve all our targets, provided that we have done our homework well in study who they are, where they live, who decide where to spend their next holiday, and above all, which social media channel they use to inform themselves and to choose the destination of their next holiday. Next, please. Instagram ranks second in Italy with almost 30 million users. It was born many years after Facebook, but it is growing fast and is expected to reach Facebook very soon. And this fact shows the importance of staying up to date on the social groups of users who change communication channels frequently and differently in each country, according to the trends and the categories of the social circles to which they belong. A good example is Facebook, that with 36 million users is still in first place in the ranking of social networks most used by Italians. We created the Italian page of Anguilla on Facebook 11 years ago. At that time, very few believed in the potential of Facebook as a communication tool to reach our target social groups. Most people believed that Facebook was only used by teenagers, for whom it was not worth wasting time and effort. Today, our Anguilla page in Italy has 77,000 fans. Those teenagers are now our best target audience in the 30 to 50 years old target group. And thanks to the fact that we started early, we are ahead in terms of number of fans to those who did not believe in the power of Facebook. So keep an eye on TikTok. Who can tell where it will be 10 years later? Next, please. As it is important to choose the most appropriate communication channel for our target audience, it is equally important to choose the most appealing messages for them in terms of words and images. Let me give you a very simple example. For American tourists, for example, it is important that in their holiday, there is a beautiful swimming pool equipped with all possible amenities. Italians love the beach and the sea. If they see the photograph of a pool, they immediately change page and look for another destination because they imagine that if there is a pool, means that the sea is not safe or is not clean. An example of an activity that worked well in Italy was a virtual holiday that we created in the lockdown period last year, when Italians were all locked at home because of the pandemic. Every day, several times a day, we posted photos and messages describing our virtual holiday in Anguilla, at the beach, at the restaurant, at the bar, on a trip to the nearby islands, or enjoying the nature of the island. We had a very good level of engagement at a time when talking about holidays was only a dream. Next slide, please. The most successful posts in Italy are obviously beautiful photos, videos, and stories featuring the sea and the beaches of Anguilla. This is what attracts Italians. Next, please. And these are more stories that work well in Italy. Quizzes to stimulate interaction, invitations to participate in competitions, to post photos on past holidays in Anguilla, and reward the most voted, such as the calendar that every year we publish with the photos most voted by our fans. Let me finish by saying that our main concern when communicating via the social networks is to ensure that personal relationships with our audience are no less personal than they were 25 years ago when there were no social networks. Thank you. Stephen?
Fantastic. Now we're going to hand over to Danielle Roman at Inter-American.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Steve. Before I speak about social media in South America, I'd like to speak a little bit about the internet users in our region, because I think it's important for you to have a dimension of how integrated and how important the social media is in South America. So South Americans, the share of global internet users is 6.7%. We are behind only the US, North America, and the Eastern Asia and Southern Asia. While the global average of internet adoption is almost 6%, South Americans present the higher rate. Colombia, 68%, Brazil, 75%, and Argentina, 80%. South America faced the annual growth on internet users. It's a very emerging market, and it still has a great potential to increase. Only in 2021, the region presented 53% of increase, while the global average time spent on internet is 6.5 hours per day. Brazil, Colombia, and Argentina present almost double the daily time connected, an average of 10 hours per day. Next, please. Talking a little bit about Brazil, we are the #1 market that represents 75% of internet users who research products online before making a purchase. The global average is 55%. Why did we put this figure for you? Because it is important that your product is online. It's important that your product is on social media, because we do research before we decide, or before we go to the OTA or to your website or to a travel agent or tour operator to decide where to go. Next, please. On the social media, 72% of South Americans are social media users. Brazil is among the top 5 social media users growth in the world, representing 8% of global share on social media. Colombia, Brazil, and Argentina are among the top 3 markets with the higher daily time spent using social media, and with an average of 3.5 hours per day. It looks like we don't work, but we do work. But we do work and go to social media at the same time. Spanish represents the 2nd largest users on Facebook, and Portuguese represents #5. It's important to highlight that there are only a few countries in the world that speaks Portuguese. Brazil is among the top 3 territories with the largest Instagram and YouTube advertising audience, behind only the USA and India. Next, please. If we go to Brazil Instagram, we see an year-over-year growth, 55% from 2020 to 2021. This, I'm talking about the Anguilla Facebook page. Okay, we don't have paid media as Big Idea has, so our growth is organic. If you can remember when Grace spoke a few slides back, it's very hard when you have an organic growth, but we are here and we are posting and working on this. So the gender is mostly female with 65%, then male with almost 30%, and 7% unknown. The key regions in Brazil are São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Our Instagram is focused on Brazil. We do translate our posts in Spanish to have a better coverage, but our main focus is Brazil. And the languages are, as I just mentioned, Portuguese and Spanish. We have 1,959 followers. Next, please. So our most successful contents are the ones that show nature, that have a landscape. So those are the kind of content that our users look for, much similar to the US. Next, please. So thank you very much. I'll leave you with Rizel and Oneika.
Thanks so much, Danielle. We're going to hand it off next to Rizel.
All right. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the Anguilla Tourist Board and, of course, to Big Ideas for asking me to be here today, and to all of you for taking out the time to be here. Well, let's start first off with the less interesting part of my presentation. This is where I'm going to present to you who I am, what I do, and how I started as a content creator and influencer. Next, please. So my name is Rizel Celestina. I am on social media, I am known as the Traveling Island Girl. I am a travel content creator, and some call me also an influencer. My focus is mostly on Caribbean travel and island lifestyle. Besides that, I also do social media management for some of the local companies here on St. Martin, especially those that are the small businesses that are in the hospitality industry. If I seem nervous to you all, it is probably because I am, because English is not my first language. So please don't really listen to all of the inadequate words that I might be using. All right, so who is the Traveling Island Girl? Next slide, please. I am originally from the island of Curacao, and then I moved to the Netherlands for about 6 years where I studied marketing. And then 20 years ago, I moved to your neighbor, the island of St. Martin, where I currently live with my husband, James, and our 17, because my husband just brought in another one over the weekend, 17 paw children. Yes, I have 17 pets. That means that my house is not only very expensive to run, but it is also quite noisy. So I must apologize for now, because at some point or another, there might be a dog barking in the background or a cat meowing. All right, so speaking of background, my professional background is in advertising, marketing, hospitality, radio, and of course, event planning. I had my own event planning company for years. I am also, of course, a big animal advocate. I am passionate about the environment. I am one of those that you'll never see without her own cutlery. I always carry a big bag with my own shopping bags and my own takeout container, etc. I'm also a big supporter of small local businesses, as well as the sustainable tourism. Next slide. I think I've been going a little too fast. So, all right, so let's go to the next one as well. How did I become a content creator? Next one, please. It's a bit of a funny story. I reached my age of 40, and all of a sudden I went through a little bit of a midlife crisis. I started questioning what exactly I was doing with my life, where I was heading, what I wanted to do. And I did what any other sane 40-year-old woman would do. I cut off my hair, dyed it blonde, got a couple of tattoos, and I started blogging. They say that blogging is, the cheapest form of therapy, and I can attest to that. It's absolutely true. So with blogging, I wanted to also blog about something that I was passionate about, which in that case is the Caribbean. I had a hunger to experience the Caribbean, to see what the differences are between the islands and the similarities, to show the world what the Caribbean region is like. So to promote my blogs, I went over to social media, and down that rabbit hole I went. And I started really deepening myself into the social media world. Fast forward to 6-7 years later, I am now deeply involved in social media, and I've even added a couple of more skills to my repertoire. For instance, just last year during the pandemic, when we were all in a lockdown, I decided to teach myself the skills of video making. So I could improve my vlogs. I always had a YouTube channel, but I wanted to really improve on that. And the idea behind it was that I wanted to promote, the island that I lived on, St. Martin, and what all there was to do for it. So now I have a playlist of about 40 odd videos about what to see, what to do, what to eat on St. Martin. Once travel resumed, I decided to take the show on the road, of course, and I decided to do some vlogs on the different destinations that I visit. Anguilla, I did one on Anguilla recently, and I did a whole video series on the affordable side of the island. Now, on a side note, YouTube is a very powerful platform as well. Don't underestimate the power of YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine after Google. So it's quite popular as well. You can find anything you want on YouTube these days. And having said that, just realize yourself also that, your blogs and vlogs that I post, how everything you post on the internet can stay online forever. So you'll see now that with some of my vlogs and blogs, for instance, that I've posted months and years ago, I'm still getting hits and views on them. So it's quite powerful. All right, so let's get to the good part. Next slide, please. This is the part that you might be really interested in. What is a content creator? Next one, please, Steve. The content creator is exactly that. It is someone who creates content. It's the artist, if you will. It's the photographer, the videographer, the blogger, the vlogger, the writer. These are all people that create content. In my case, I use my skills and talent to create content for not only my own brand, The Traveling Island Girl, but also for other brands and businesses that decide or that hire me to do so. All right, so if that is the content creator, next slide, please. And here you can see some of the things that I do. I'm very heavily involved on social media, especially on Instagram. I'm even trying to dip my toes now in TikTok, which is not going that well yet, but I'm getting there. And then, of course, I have my YouTube channel and I have my blog. Next slide, please. So what is an influencer? Next, please, Steve. So if the content creator is the artist, the influencer, you can say, is the media. They're your billboards, your commercial on TV and radio, your spread in a magazine or your advertorial in a newspaper. There is someone that brings your brand to their audience. That is what an influencer does. We used to use a lot of celebrities back in the day, but now we've seen the impact that the girl or the boy next door can have. Someone that has influence can be an influencer. It doesn't necessarily need to be a celebrity. And of course, with the growth of social media, you're going to see more and more regular people becoming influencers. These are just some of the stuff that I've done for some of the businesses that I worked for in the past. I am considered one of those Airbnb experts and Caribbean experts. So, all right. So what are the tips that I can give you on working with influencers and content creators? First of all, the word influencer is really misunderstood, especially in the Caribbean region. A lot of people think influencers are these shallow people that are only about themselves and only are out to get things for free. And there's it's really actually quite sad that, you know, we're not seeing the power really of influencers, or what an influencer and content creator can do for your business. A lot of people also think that we shouldn't be asking money to do so, especially in the Caribbean. And this is all based on my my opinion and my, how do you say, experiences. All right, so next, please, Steve. So there's actually a lot of work that goes into being an influencer. We do a lot of work before we stay at a resort for free, during and after. I, for one, am a one-woman show. I am the videographer, the photographer, the writer, the blogger, and the vlogger. So there's a lot of time and effort that goes into creating content to post online and then hopefully influence our followers. So my tips for you is do your research. I cannot tell you how many times someone has been saying, oh, I need an influencer to help me with this new product that we're launching. And somebody will tell, oh, yeah, call Rizal because Rizal is an influencer. Yeah, but an influencer of what? You need to make sure that the influencer goes with what you are trying to promote. So do your research. Is it a travel influencer that you need, a beauty influencer, or is it a wellness influencer? You know, if you are, for instance, a hardware store and you're trying to promote the latest hammer that came on the market, you're probably not going to want to work with a beauty influencer, correct? Also, do your research on their followers. Who are their followers? And does that link up quite well with your target group, with the group that you're trying to reach? For instance, if you are a 5-star resort and your target group is mainly 35-plussers with a above average income, you probably not want to work with an influencer whose followers are in their teen years. So do your research. Also look into the niche that they represent. A lot of small accounts especially are very niche based, like you heard London say earlier in the presentation. So really look at their niche and does that fit with who you're trying to reach with this campaign. Also, don't underestimate, and this is where I am, you know, totally basing this on experience. Don't underestimate the power of the smaller accounts, the so-called micro and nano influencers. These influencers are usually under 5,000 or under 10,000, excuse me, depending on who you talk to. And these small accounts normally, like London also mentioned, or I think it was Grace, I'm not quite sure. You mentioned that, of course, they're very niche oriented and they have a very loyal following. And I can really tell you that it's really honest with the truth, correct. In my case, for instance, I have built a real community. People trust what I say, people trust what I show. And they also trust my ideas, suggestions, and recommendations, especially because they know that I wouldn't recommend anything that I haven't experienced myself. So definitely keep the small accounts in mind when you're trying to reach a certain goal via influencer marketing. Also, another thing is that regularly, and that's something also that London mentioned, that normally you'll see that the smaller accounts have a much higher engagement rate, and this is true as well. All right, so I also want to talk about the really tiny accounts, like for instance, those that are under 2,000. Maybe you have one of those local people in Anguilla, and I know of a few that maybe they don't have the thousands of followers that you would usually go to. But what if you can go to them to target that local market? For instance, if it's summer and the tourist numbers are down and you're trying to reach regional or local people, why not use one of those people that have an influence on Anguilla itself to kind of spread the word? Because these smaller accounts are really good for word of mouth marketing. And last but not least on my list of tips today, make sure that your own social media is up to date. All of your social media platforms must be up to date before you actually work with an influencer, because nothing is worse than having all of that, creating that content as an influencer, creating all of that content, making all these beautiful pictures, posing with your products, whatever it is, and then sending all of that traffic your way via tagging on Instagram, for example, and then they get there and your last post is from 2019. So make sure that your own platforms are up to date. And this is where a content creator can come in handy, because a content creator can help you build your platforms to what it's supposed to be before you start with your influencer marketing campaign. Also, a lot of us, like I said in the beginning, I, for one, and I know a lot of influencers are content creators as well, and they also are social media managers. So why not hire them to actually do your social media, get it up, hire them for 3 months or so, build it up to what it's supposed to be, and then hire the influencer. So that is it for me, guys, today. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to pass on the word back to Steve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roselle. I think next we're going to be hearing from Onika.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if you can see me on here.
We can, yeah, we can see you.
Okay, wonderful. Because I don't see myself. All righty, so thank you so much for having me, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this panel. My name is Onika Raymond. I am an Emmy Award-winning journalist and host with a robust social media presence. I really love traveling, and I really love sharing my impressions of the places that I travel to online. So today, if you could change to the next slide, we are actually going to talk about things that you should be considering when it comes to social media. Now, Roselle did a really great job of talking about influencers and content creators and what that means, and why brands, why you, travel brands, lifestyle brands, people on Anguilla, why you should be using content creators and influencers to your advantage. And today I'm going to kind of continue that conversation and speak specifically about social media and social media video. So 3 things, just to kind of begin my little spiel here. 3 things that you should really be thinking about or considering when it comes to social media is that in terms of a destination or a service or a product, in many instances, social media, these social media platforms are going to provide the first and last impressions of your destination, of your product, of your service to a potential customer. So, attention spans are short, and traditional advertising, unfortunately, is not really reaching people in the way that it used to. And so as a result, a lot of people are consuming content on their phones, on their computers. They're consuming content digitally, and unfortunately, or fortunately, in some instances, that's going to be your only chance to reach them. So you want to make sure that it is good. And Grace spoke at the very beginning of the presentation. She shared a few statistics about how the way consumers are consuming is changing, and how we can really maximize and use social media to our advantage. So, ask perhaps, 10 people, and maybe only 5 or 6 would have heard of Anguilla. So, when you get yourself onto social media, particularly Instagram and TikTok, that is going to be a vessel for you to transmit information about your destination. And you want to make sure that it's appealing, because you want to make sure that that messaging is really embedded into the hearts and minds of people. And so they're going to want to learn more, and they are hopefully going to book a trip to the island. The second thing I would like you to consider is that influencers are the new celebrities and destination marketers. Again, once upon a time, you could put an ad, a full page ad in the paper, or you could put a commercial on television, and you could see the effect. But we're in a new world. We're in a highly digitized world. And as a result, people are consuming that content digitally on their phones, and particularly from social media. And so instead of having the ad do the talking on television, well, you're going to have perhaps somebody like myself, transmitting that messaging to a potential customer. And 3, Grace spoke about this earlier on, short form video, I believe, and anecdotally, I've seen it, it's the best way to organically reach social media users right now. You hear a lot of influencers and content creators and social media managers complaining about the dreaded algorithm. The algorithms on these social media platforms the algorithms are prioritizing video content, and in particular, short video content. The shorter, the better. So once again, when you are creating and when you are thinking about how to engage and be able to, I don't want to say ensnare because that has a negative connotation, but when you were thinking about how to attract new customers, you should be thinking about how you could use video to do that, and particularly how you can transmit that messaging, how you can tell a story within a very short video. And again, I'm somebody who's coming from a blogging and a writing background. I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I started my first blog, in 2005. So I have been around for a really long time. I started writing about travel because I had a genuine love for travel and still do, and started telling stories about the journeys that I was taking. And originally that started out in written form, and now it's evolved. I'm a TV host and social media maven. And I now would like to think that I kind of have a bit of knowledge, some expertise when it comes to travel storytelling, and particularly through visual formats, and particularly even more so through video format. So if you could change the slide. So that brings me to Instagram Reels. You know, it was leading up to this. Instagram came out not too long ago and expressly said that they are no longer a photo sharing platform. In fact, they are a video platform. And so many people groaned and complained because it was a complete departure from what they had known all this time. So if content is king, well, Instagram Reels, Instagram video, short form video is queen. And we have seen Instagram evolve even over the last 18 months, whereby they have really tried to become a competitor with TikTok, which is only about video. So as a result, we are seeing all of these digital platforms moving towards this social media short form video form of sharing. And even YouTube, which has traditionally been a longer form platform, or a longer form video platform, has now introduced YouTube Shorts. So again, we are seeing that when it comes to storytelling online on social media, video is prioritized, and particularly short snapshots of video is being prioritized. So with that being said, viral reels can really put your destination, your hotel, your service, your product on the map, literally and figuratively. And this is because this form of video content is being prioritized, and it's being prioritized in such a way that the algorithm really smiles on it, right? Algorithm really likes it, and therefore will share and distribute that content in a way that it is no longer doing for photos and longer form video. So Reels have an incredible organic reach, which basically echoes what I was saying before. And unlike other forms of content, like photos, as I said, they have greater longevity on the app. Instagram, you post something and it shows up in people's feeds. It may show up on the explore page and then it drops off. Reels, however, have the opposite effect. I have found that reels that I post generally, they could reach their peak 3 weeks from now. I've had a reel that I posted and I thought, oh, well, that didn't do very well. And then 3, 4, 5 weeks later, the reel has gone viral. So anecdotally, in my own personal experience, I have really seen the power of reels. And in about, I want to say, in the last year or so, I've been able to grow my following by about 40,000 followers. And all of that is coming from reels. Can we switch to the next slide, please? So I wanted to show you a couple of examples of travel-focused reels that I've been doing. Now, I started out travel storytelling, and a lot of the storytelling that I do is still focused around travel, although there's a greater or larger integration of lifestyle content nowadays as well. But I wanted to show you 3 examples of viral reels, however you define viral. But I wanted to show you 3 reels that I have on my page current that have done well and gotten quite a bit of traction, and they are travel focused reels. The first one is this reel that I just really created offhand. I was traveling this summer. I went to White Sands National Park in New Mexico. Beautiful place, like its name, White Sands. So very visually evocative. And this particular reel ended up going viral, and it has 535,000 views and 38.3 thousand likes. So to say that I guess it was interesting to people is probably an understatement. It has over 500,000 views. I also posted this on TikTok, even though I'm not really on TikTok. That's not really my domain. And it went viral there as well. But what I want to direct your attention to, if you could see the analytics, which I've posted on the side there on the right hand of the screen, is I want you to look at not only the views and the likes, but I also would like you to look at the number of shares. And that's indicated by that little, I guess it's like a little chevron and that little paper airplane icon there. And it's been shared 15,768 times, and it's been saved over 12,000 times. And you can see there that the number of accounts reached is 510,000 accounts. Now, this is just a short video. I think the video was under 20 seconds. I was not paid to visit the park. It was a vacation that I did with my family, and I just posted it because I thought it was cool. And so, as you can see, that video really went a long way. And introduced that destination to a number of people who didn't even know that it existed. Can we change to the next slide there? This is a more recent reel that I posted, and it is from the Summit Observatory, the Summit Vanderbilt Observatory in New York City. So that's the Summit is actually one of New York City's newest observatories, viewing platforms. And I was invited by the Summit. So I was invited by the venue to come. I was under no obligation to post. I just went and I thought, oh, this is going to be a really cool opportunity to see this new observation deck in New York City. And so I went and I did a video, a short reel. I used a trending sound. And this reel, funnily enough, when I first posted it for the first couple of weeks, it didn't really get that much traction. It didn't have that many views or shares. And then probably about a month after I posted it, I noticed that it was picking up views day after day after day. So again, this is the power of Instagram Reels, in that you can post something and it doesn't necessarily do well. However, down the line, it could get traction for whatever reason. So right now, to date, this particular reel has over 330,000 views, 25,000 likes, so over 25,000 likes. And you can see that it's been shared over 3,000 times. It's been saved nearly 3,000 times as well. So that's reached more than 250,000 people have seen that. And so again, I was just invited to go to this place. I decided I was going to use it as a content opportunity, and I have a viral reel there. Can we switch to the next slide, please? And then finally, as my final example, I want to show you a reel from the Caribbean. I was invited by the Grenada Tourism Board to visit the island. This is in the summertime, and I stayed at the Silver Sands Hotel. Actually, it was a joint collaboration between the Tourism Board of Grenada and then also Silver Sands Hotel. It was actually Silver Sands Hotel who reached out to me, inviting me, and then they were able to get the Tourism Board to sponsor my plane ticket down there. And I decided to do a reel, or to make a reel of the pool, because they have the longest, that property has the longest outdoor pool in the Caribbean, I believe. And so I made a reel. It was probably only about 10 seconds. I got my husband to use a drone. So he was able to do a great shot of this pool while I was in it. And again, a lot of people probably never heard of Grenada, don't even know how to pronounce, don't even know how to pronounce Grenada. And I know that if you're from Anguilla, you may have experienced people mispronouncing the island's name. So not necessarily as well known as, you know, Jamaica or the Bahamas, for instance. But I posted this reel, and again, it did relatively well. So it ended up with 177,000 views, over 10,000 likes. And as you can see here, it was shared over 2,000 times, and it was saved over 2,000 times. So my basic, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that do not underestimate the power of short form video, because as we know, social media is a very powerful tool. And in many instances for your destination, product, service, hotel, it may be the first impression and the last impression that people are going to have of it. So you want to make sure that you show up and show out, and really use it widely, use social media widely. If you could change to the next slide, please. So really quickly, how can you best facilitate influencer content creation? Allow influencers the freedom to create the content they feel will best resonate with their audience. You know, you stick around, you know, you're in this industry for a long enough time, like myself, you learn a lot of things. You know what's going to work, you know what's going to hit, you know what is going to get shared, you know which angles to capture. So leave us to do our job. Do not micromanage us. Allow us to do what we do best, and you will be happy with the results, I guarantee you. The other point that I really want to make is to provide influencers with the tools to best highlight you. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a destination or a hotel, and you know, I'm there to create content, but I'm not being given the best opportunities to create content. So as an influencer, you know, if I am making a reel or if I'm taking a photo, typically for best results, I need to make sure that, you know, the sun is right. I need to, if possible, I want to avoid crowds. You know, I'm trying to sell your destination. You know, influencers and content creators are trying to sell your destination. So work with us so that we can do that to the best of our ability, because we have a vested interest in doing so as well. So if there's an opportunity, give us a suite. If you know, give us the room with the plunge pool, or at least allow us to have access to these things that are highly evocative, or that are very photogenic, or particularly scenic, or noteworthy, because then we can create content out of it that, as you have seen from my examples, will resonate with audiences, will get shared. You know, as an influencer, if I'm going to a place and if I'm working with a tourism board or a property, I'm always looking for those share-worthy moments. So give me that opportunity. Don't give me the room that like has no view, or at least grant me access to the one that does, so that I can do a really good job as well. So it's really very much a symbiotic relationship. So if you get anything from this presentation, it is to use social media to your advantage, particularly video, and give influencers and content creators the opportunity to shine, and to show why your destination is one that is worth visiting, or one that is worth spending their money in. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Onika. So next, I think we'll have some questions and answers. I know I have lots of questions based on all the great information that we got from everyone so far. So that is open now. If anyone wants to submit a question, you can do so via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And while we wait for some of those to come in, I will just pose one, I guess, to Rizal first, but then also to Onika. Is there anything, you know, Onika was just talking about creating these really extraordinary moments and these special videos or photos. Rizal, is there anything you'd like to say about what it takes to make an image or video that is really going to resonate with people? Is there something about the number of photos or videos you have to take in order to get it right, or something special in the way it's
Sorry,
set
that
up?
question for me or Rizal?
Why don't we start with Rizal first, and then we'll have you answer as well.
Okay, I actually have to head out, so
sure.
I don't know if I could just interject quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. So the question was regarding what it takes. So I'll tell you. I mean, I have a whole arsenal of professional equipment. You know, tens of thousands of dollars worth. I have a professional grade camera. I have lenses that cost $2,000 each. Professional grade equipment. And I have 2 drones. I have 2 gimbals. So, as a content creator, I am creating professional grade content because I'm using professional grade equipment. And usually, there's so much that goes into it. If you see a photo that I've posted online, know that I've probably taken 50 photos in total, if not more. That photo has been edited in Lightroom. I've edited it in multiple programs. The video has been color graded. I mean, there are a lot of things going on to get that level of imagery. And so I feel as though when you work with a content creator, oftentimes you are getting someone who is or who could be a professional photographer or videographer. And in many instances, I actually work and pay out of my pocket professional videographers and photographers in order to get the content that I need. So I think there's really a misnomer. And obviously it depends on the content creator. But I do feel as though once you get to a certain level, or at least in my purview, I am hiring people sometimes to get that image or to create that imagery that I like. So a lot goes into it. And I think that is something that that brands and tourism boards should be aware of. Oftentimes, in hiring an influencer, that content creator is sourcing others in the creation of their content that is then going to be for the brand's use.
What can I add to that? It's actually, I agree, of course, with Anika. In my case, I do not have all of that equipment, but I did invest in some equipment. And most of the times, you can hear me, right? I'm not unmuted. Okay, good. Most of the times you'll have me taking pictures and videos from my phone. So I try to, I have to keep it very simple. I'm not at the level yet where I can afford all of the expensive gear. I do have a drone. I do have a lot of stuff in my arsenal, but I am using mostly my phone and my GoPro. That is what I shoot with. And of course, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So to reply to Steve, like Onika said, there's a couple of, dozens of pictures that go into just that one perfect shot that we decide to post afterwards. In my case, I always try to make sure that it highlights where I am and what I'm trying to represent in it. So if it's about, that great, what do you call it? That great fish and fries that certain restaurant in Anguilla serves, I would like to highlight it and then make sure that you can see either the restaurant or at least the dish quite properly. Also, I've noticed that especially when you're taking pictures or videos of the Caribbean, the color blue always stands out. And just to go a little bit more in video, just to point out, I recently discovered that although most Caribbean islands do not have Reels available to us, St. Martin is one of them, and it's very frustrating and challenging, makes my work very challenging. I found ways around it, but I recently asked friends in Anguilla, and I found out that you actually do have access to Reels since about 2 weeks, but it's on and off. So it's not working the way it's supposed to right now, but be assured there are ways around it. You can really use, take advantage of carousels and take advantage of just posting regular short videos as a regular post. It won't do as well as a reel will, but at least you're getting some great content out there.
That's a great result. Thanks. I guess one other question I wanted to pose to really anyone on the panel so far is, what have you seen change during the pandemic, either in the types of content that people are looking for and or the reaction that it's getting? And I'm happy to start with anyone that has some feedback on that.
I mean, I think there's definitely been a big transition. I think people are getting the vaccine and things are loosening up in certain places, but a lot of people are still stuck at home and they haven't been able to travel for quite some time, or they haven't maybe been able to go on those bigger trips. They're going to the state next door or a road trip. So I think it's our role as Anguilla to bring that content that's really dreamy and really allows them to kind of put themselves in the destination without actually being there. So I've noticed that content has become a lot more immersive, and there have been quite a few destinations, including Anguilla, that are kind of driving home that piece of like experience Anguilla either through a cooking tutorial or something with art, or even a dancing tutorial at home until you can actually travel there. So I've noticed that big piece a lot. I've also noticed a lot with wellness and I think you could tie in with a lot of the things Anguilla already offers, but things like meditations or digital yoga done through Instagram Live that make people feel like they're kind of relaxed in this difficult time.
If I may add to that, I've also noticed that, like Grace said, there's a lot of people really looking for educational content. If they are not able to fly to Anguilla or travel to Anguilla, they want to know about, these educational videos really do well, whether it's a video or just a regular post. Like, for instance, if you have your bartender make one of their famous rum punches or a margarita, and then give them educate them on how to make it and also to present it so that they can make it at home and kind of like still feels that they're there. And also the ones that do travel, I've noticed that a lot of them, if I look at my inbox daily, most of the questions are coming to me are about the entry requirements and what exactly they need to do, and what are the activities that are open. A lot of people have the idea that the Caribbean is not open, and there are certain places that are not. And yes, it is more difficult to get into Anguilla than St. Martin, for instance, but people need to know that it is actually open. So, and that the activities are there. So I think that's just based on the questions that I get asked a lot. Also, a lot of people are more interested in, wellness, yes, but also on crowd-less activities. So hiking, having the beach to themselves. They kind of like really love that idea that there's not a lot of people around them, especially with the scare of the virus.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Roselle. And I'll add to that for Anguilla, we are in a unique position where Anguilla has, under tourism has been a trendy thing the past few years, but now, under tourism because of the pandemic is bigger than ever. And a lot of these, even like large cities like Paris is trying to ban tourist buses from the city. And these larger destinations are trying to be smaller. They're trying to be, they're trying to be safer. They're trying to be more exclusive. But Anguilla already has that. You have to take a boat or a small charter plane. Now, of course, American Airlines, you can get there too. But Anguilla still does have 33 beaches, and a lot of times you can go on one and be completely by yourself and have an entire beach to yourself. Not many places in the world can say that, at least not many places I've been to. So during the pandemic, we ran a Lose the Crowd, Find Yourself campaign, which really touches well on what you were speaking about, Roselle, the idea of kind of mixing wellness in with having space and feeling safer and finding yourself during that process. So I think that's something all of us have felt like, how can we be safer, whether it's traveling somewhere nearby or going to a destination that just feels a little less crowded, a little less scary.
That's great.